But then other people do it
problem with
too.
that is you're going to create a form of ghettoization.
Why?
You're going to have small communities popping up.
Well, that's not a bad thing necessarily, is it? I mean, what's wrong with people having we have communities that do that today in the United States. The Orthodox community, they kind of live like it's 1903 in Warsaw. Sometimes there's like whole neighborhoods where they recreate even to their dress. But I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing if that's the way people are comfortable living.
Some people want to move off grid and live without electricity or flushing toilets.
See, I think that goes against the grain on what a lot of these governments want, because if you pay attention, they usually want to coerce people from the country to move into these industrial areas, and it's like, and
that's where the problem.
Yeah, that's where the problem actually lies. Like if you have a problem with your little child going to school and then having to leave your house and there's a crack dealer out in front of your door, then maybe you need to move away from the city to the country where you're away from that, you know. And I've actually said that before, and somebody says, well, I like the excitement of the country. So that gets me to thinking, okay, so you say you love your children, but at the same time you're willing to put up with crack dealers being outside your door just so you can enjoy the excitement of the city.
Yeah,
you see, everybody has. Sorry.
Carry on.
Everybody has the right to choose as dysfunctional a society as they want to live in.
Mm-hmm.
You can live like a barbarian if you want to. That's your problem. Just don't impose your way of life on me. Allow me to have my community too, and you have your community. And we don't need to like each other, but we can respect each other like the elbow and the knee, whatever. There's no need to put a hierarchy onto society. I think that's the problem with nationalism, is that it evokes these emotions of superiority. My culture's so good. My way is the best. I've got the best flag ever. Yay me and my stuff. And okay, it's great to be proud of yourself. But the other guy over there, who's exactly like you and could share your DNA, is thinking that about his stuff. And why doesn't he have the right to be just as big an asshole as I have the right to be? You know, surely we're at a level of social development now where we can tolerate those ambiguities and we can live within the paradox.
Not sure. I'm just looking at if you're looking at it from a more national sort of viewpoint, that sort of form of separation, ghettoization, if you like, removes these sort of cohesion. Yeah, it removes a sort of national cohesion, a national identity, and national form of striving, if you like.
I don't know, though. I mean, again, as I was saying, a lot of this is historically recent and, in fact, the result of literary activity. Let's think about Germany. I mean, before Napoleon created, I think it was called the Confederation of the Rhine, there were between 300 and 400 different German countries. No one knows exactly how many. I remember a history professor of mine, I asked him about this, but it's like, you know, someone would die, their country, their domain would get divided among their sons, somebody would marry, two domains would so every year there was like a different number, but there was at least 300 different little independent sovereign countries, and we didn't have any world wars.
Just to button, funny enough, me and Roger did an entire, I think 2-3 episodes on this subject.
Oh, really? It's a fascinating time.
In one of our more political things, and looking at the history of Germany before what was it, the 20th century? So yeah, late 19th century.
Yeah, so I would.
Or from Napoleonic
Yeah,
Wars
yeah. From Napoleon on, it was
yeah.
down. He reduced it to a
Up to the
saner number, but even so, I think the average German person was probably a lot happier when their country had an army of 10 guys who were usually used as an honor guard when the Duke or the Count came out to visit the public bath, which created 2/3 of the gross national product of their little country of 100 square miles. Rather than being, suddenly you're in the Kingdom of Bavaria or you're in the Kingdom of Prussia, and the next thing you know, it's the Empire, and we're going to go over to France now, boys. And it's so, again, I have nothing against like nationalism, but I don't see why you have to have nations that big that can do that much harm. I always liked the canton system in Switzerland, and that was something that I think, was it Proudhon or somebody used to point to. There are ways people can organize themselves in a way that's as non-coercive as possible. One of my goals is to remove coercion from all social interaction. That will never be. I realize this. I mean, I know there's very good arguments that, yeah, you need a certain amount. If nothing else, rearing children, there has to be a certain amount of coercion. No, you can't jump into that river.
No.
I will coerce you, sort of deal. But still, I've always felt that the smaller the units, the less harm they can cause. And a Germany that had 300 different independent countries, or even 30, did a lot less harm in the world than the Germany that, basically, I mean, I always, and I've been accused of being an apologist for Germany. I just try to look at everything from every angle, but at the end of the day, Germany has probably caused more problems in Europe than any other single force in history that I can think of. And you can start with Charlemagne if you like.
Well, I mean, I could say France too, though, because like.
Yeah, I was just thinking that myself.
Well.
No, I mean, I joke around about it a lot. Don't get me wrong, I do joke around about it. But like me and Mark just finished up Roger's Real Time Talk Show event where we were talking about political history in France, or not France, but Europe.
That you're getting into that whole Habsburg thing that they had going for a while. A lot of
believe it or not, we
monarchy, I think, was a hangover from that.
We actually stayed away from the Habsburgs.
Yeah,
we just went into like John, like you were talking about child rearing, okay, like a Rousseau, okay. now Rousseau, he was real big on making lectures about child rearing, okay. But then there were allegations against him that even though he was trying to tell people how to child rear their children, he had given up like 2 of his own children to foster homes because he couldn't care for them.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. Physician, heal thyself.
And what's his name? He was the guy from France. He was he was a part of the classic liberal movement.
Rousseau?
No, he was a French.
Voltaire.
He was Voltaire. Voltaire is the one that pointed that out. He actually pointed it out multiple times. To be honest, and nobody would have known that Rousseau was a downright dirty dog who threw his kids out into the street.
You just said we just finished off, but that must have been that. We finished off that 6 months ago, 7 months ago.
Mm-hmm. But you see, nobody would have known that if it wasn't for that big mouth Voltaire.
Voltaire, he was quite the character. He was quite the character.
He just could not keep quiet. And the thing, you know what I mean? If you really take an honest human look at it, okay, like Voltaire he had such a big ego that freaking he had to have this huge freaking statue of himself.
You mean, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember once I was getting coffee somewhere, stopped in this local coffee shop, and they had a big screen TV up in the corner. I don't watch much TV, except when I'm in coffee shops picking up coffee, I guess. And there was this, I guess it was almost empty, but I guess whoever was working was a Catholic, because it was like a Catholic television channel, cable channel. And there was this priest, theologian, and he was talking about this terrible influence in our society. And this, and just talking about this person whose ideas are linked. Wow, I wonder what modern thinker he's talking about. And then I'm listening for a few minutes while I'm waiting for my coffee. It's Voltaire. He was just tearing right into Voltaire. This was like, I don't know, within the last probably 30 years. And it's like, and he's going on about it. And I'm thinking, what kind of current guy, but it made me start thinking that, these ideas are still very much with us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Voltaire was as destructive as all that. And he could be a very good writer, but he was a product of his time. They really weren't very thoughtful bunch. Like Rousseau, I mean, it's easier to describe how other people should act than to act that way yourself, as we all know.
Now, Voltaire, I think he came out with great stuff. I just think that he was always talking. You know what I mean? Because that's most of his writings was always him just talking. He was always had to comment on something. Now.
Not like this group at all.
No, not like this group. Now, you take a look at John Locke, though. Okay, now John Locke, the most you find of him is portraits of him that are set up in libraries most of the time. If you go into a library, you'll see a picture or a portrait of John Locke, and it's modest. It's like that. But then you take a look at Voltaire. He had to have this extravagant statue put up in Paris and in the middle of the square. You know what I mean?
Wow, I had no idea.
So it's kind of like when you start checking that out, it's pretty interesting. And then we actually got into Paris and the French Revolution. And when you take a look at the French Revolution and what it stood for in the beginning and what it ended up like, or about at the end of it, like, I forgot the name of the guy. Who was that again?
Robespierre?
He was the guy that was in charge. He turned maniacal. Like he went from talking about revolution and classic liberalism to freaking like a maniacal freaking like today how we come up with the term radical. Okay, like he took radicalism and just he separated it from what classical liberalism was. So when people hear about liberalism and then they hear about radicalism, they don't understand that they're two separate entities altogether.
Right.
Like by the end of the French Revolution, they said that if you did not support the revolution, you were a traitor to the cause and you had to be put to death with the nobles. Okay.
Yeah, it got pretty violent.
So they were pretty much trying to figure out anybody they could find to take and decapitate. It was bloodthirst, and I found that to be very interesting. Whenever we were finally done with it, that really woke me up to a lot of things.
Roger, do you think it was hatred?
Oh yeah, revanchism is the term they used. Me and Mark learned that word last year, revanchism.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very interesting when we seen that, because I'd always pictured the Eastern Europe, as being the whole thing when it came to ethno-nationalist movements. I always thought it was like Eastern Europe doing it, like the Slavs and Germany and all of them. But then I found out that it was like revanchism was taking place in England. No, not in England, but in France as well, because like Germany was upset that Napoleon had occupied Berlin, and then but after World War I, they turned around and did it again with the Weimar Republic. Okay.
Yeah, after the Weimar. Yeah.
And it kind of really opened my eyes up when it comes to Europe and what was actually taking place. Believe it or not, it had absolutely nothing to do with Habsburgs.